Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. An old friend of mine is our guest today, Richard Mauk. He's the chairman of the Jefferson County Democratic Party. There, I said it, the Jefferson County Democratic Party. Dying group, but we're still around, aren't we?
I wouldn't say that yet, Tommy.
Don't go that far.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it being here.
It really does seem to me that the pendulum is swinging in terms of how it happens in history, Republican, Democrat. It seems to be moving back a little bit left, at least, even though our president is certainly nowhere near the left side. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are there is equilibrium in politics, just like there is in societies. Franklin Roosevelt once described the body politic as a feather pillow. When you punch in one side, the other side punches out. You punch in the other side punches out. So society, it's equilibrium, and I think we're finding it now. People are understanding. Folks are getting emotional about certain issues. We all know that. There's an issue on immigration. There's issues with jobs. There's issues with pollution. There's issues with ethics in government. People get concerned over those things. And when they hear one side all the time, they start to think that way. Mm-hmm. And then they all of a sudden, those that say this get in power and start actually doing things that folks say, well, maybe this isn't so good after all. Mm-hmm. It starts to shift back. And you've seen it throughout our recent history. When we were kids, you had Eisenhower there for 8 years. You had a Republican model government. You had Democrat Congress, Republican executive. It worked quite well then. And then you started introducing a lot of money on both sides in certain issues, and you had people get more apart. So, and
separated, but being driven by
fear,
financial interest,
and they're preying on people's fear of people being different than they are. I mean, let's take immigration. I think the president uses immigration a great deal as a wedge issue. These people are animals that are coming across the border. These aren't animals. These are people trying to find freedom, just like our ancestors did. And yes, we do have to control the border. There's no question we have to control the border and have a due process of immigration. So we're addressing that. I think if you take a lot of the politics out of it, we'll eventually agree on a method of proper immigration policies.
And we'll get to what you call equilibrium.
And we get
I
to
would
what
call
we call
balance.
And balance, equilibrium.
Same thing.
I like being balanced. I don't like falling down.
Yeah, absolutely. So where you see the biggest hurdles for the Democratic Party with these upcoming elections in November?
We have to go back and talk to working class folks and tell them specifically and convincingly, we want to create good jobs. We want to protect the environment, and we want to invest in our infrastructure and education.
Of our youth.
Of our youth. That is the promise of our prosperity, of our posterity, our youth. I want my grandkids and your grandkids to have a better education than me. And I think we're pretty well educated, but I want them to be even better than us.
Well, that's the way our parental generation thought.
Exactly.
My parents didn't go to college, but it was real important that I went to college.
Exactly.
And all of my brothers and sisters graduated college.
Right.
Well,
my parents never graduated high school. They went immediately to work.
But they wanted you to go to college.
But they wanted me to go to make sure I graduated high school. And I was fortunate enough through the UAB coming up when I was a kid, being able to go to UAB and get a degree.
Well, people don't know this, but Richard is a lawyer. Unfortunately, he has been bitten by the bug. And when I was 3 years ahead of him, I guess.
I think you were just 1 year, maybe 1 year.
in the
In
law
law school.
world. He bought my freshman law books from me.
From all
So
the old
that's
notes.
So that's only 40 years ago.
That was 40 years ago.
That
Goodness
happened.
gracious.
So
Where'd the time go?
you can see it on the screen.
I'm just happy we're both here.
So what are the hot spots for the election coming up in November that you find to be critical?
I think ethics is very important.
No, I'm talking about in terms of people.
People?
Which particular seats? The gov?
I think governor is very important. I think the Supreme Court's going to be very important. You've got two people running for the Supreme Court on the Republican side. You've got one on the Democratic side. You've got one associate justice that is running for Chief Justice that is very conservative. You've got the current Chief Justice is a conservative, but I don't know if she is conservative enough for that base. And then you have Bob Vance, who's running as a Democrat, who is an excellent judge. He follows the law. He doesn't make law, and I think that's going to contribute to a lot of the dialogue in the fall.
Yeah, he's on the court of the Supreme Court.
He is
ballot.
He's running for Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He is a current sitting circuit judge of the 10th Judicial Circuit, which is Jefferson County, Alabama.
And we don't, as we tape, we're taping, of course, before the primary date.
Right.
We don't know who his opposition will be.
We do not. It was going to be either Justice Stewart or Justice Parker is who his opposition will be in the fall. So he's not being challenged in his primary.
All right. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
I want to talk about the Attorney General's race when we come back.
Great.
This is Our Issues Birmingham. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. I'm talking with Richard Mauk, chairman of the Jefferson County Democratic Party. I mentioned you were a lawyer. Richard, for years, tell us a little bit about what you did before you became not just chairman of the Democratic Party, but also what else you do along the way.
Oh, gosh, jack of all trades. I served as a law clerk to Judge Stephen Coleman in the bankruptcy court for a couple of years. I practiced law with Charlie Gorham and with Gordon Silberman, Wiggins and Childs for about a decade. Practiced law on my own for about a decade. I was appointed clerk of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for about 10 years. And I now am president of the Consumer Financial Education Foundation of America, CFEFA, which is a credit counseling agency.
To help people get out of debt without filing bankruptcy?
We try to help people get out of debt. We try to analyze their situations. And we've put together a great little personal financial management course that we market that is very inexpensive. And we have right now, as of today, we've probably educated over 60,000 people in this state on financial matters.
You know, there's tremendous trickle-down effect of that, because if you can get people handling their financial matters properly, you keep them out of the court system for theft.
Well,
you keep them out for writing. We don't have bad checks much anymore because nobody writes checks anymore, except me.
Checks don't. I write a few checks, but
everything's automated, and debit cards and things of that nature. So that's changed dramatically as it relates to debtor relationships.
Well, yes. First of all, I don't like the trickle down use that you just use as a Democrat. I like it perking up. If you teach people how to handle money properly in checks and balance their books, it trickles up, or it goes up.
So we have just changed the law of gravity.
just tell me the wizard of economics.
I hear what you're saying.
It percolates up,
and has a positive effect on the individuals that might otherwise end up in a situation that they'd rather not be in.
Exactly. I mean, you have a person being a productive member of society rather than being a drag on society.
I'm with
And
you.
it's in macro terms, it helps build the GNP, the gross national product, which builds all of our wealth.
So we digress.
We did.
We talked about you, but that's okay. The AG's race in November.
The Attorney General.
That's right.
The Attorney General of Alabama. I grew up.
We don't have an elected official in our top echelon of government, from governor
To Chief Justice, to the Attorney General.
Nobody's
We do
been
not.
elected by the people.
No, they have not. They have been appointed pursuant to constitutional law.
That is a rare event.
That is a very rare event. And what's even more rare is to have all their predecessors removed for malfeasance and misconduct.
And I have done a little bit of history search on this, and you would think that this was going on everywhere in the world that goes on in Alabama, but Alabama is aberrational.
Unfortunately, it is.
We're unlike any other spot.
We've got to keep our eye on the ball and not listen to what politicians are saying. They play to our, I would say, weaknesses.
Fears.
And our fears. They try to out-religion each other right now, and I find that disturbing as a Christian myself. I don't wear my religion on my sleeve. I hang it in my heart, and I act in
and you live it.
And I live it, or I attempt to live it, which no one's perfect. But I'm not going to use my religion to promote me politically. And I grew up that way. My parents were that way. My family's that way.
So you see that happening in the Attorney
I see
General's
that.
race?
I see it happening with every
race.
With every race that comes across. They're trying to, folks are trying to out-Trump each other.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Outgun each other. And we can say something about that in a minute. Trump outgun, out-God each other, so to speak. I think we need to start talking about the real issues that affect you and me and our kids and our grandkids. You can't grow jobs without growing education.
Well, everybody sees a lot of growth in Birmingham, especially in the downtown area. And then there are some that have been on the show that have said that's just cosmetic. We're not having any job growth. Now, Jefferson County, I think, is experiencing some job growth, but
not
Birmingham.
But not Birmingham.
And so we have a tremendous crime problem here in Birmingham, and the youth are not being trained to be able to do anything productive to earn a living, a decent wage, and so they're out on the streets doing things they shouldn't be doing. So what you're suggesting is we get an earlier start on people.
Oh, absolutely. I'm very encouraged with the Woodfin administration. I know most of the folks on the transition team and now on the mayor's staff. They're good folks. They believe in the city. They believe in the future. And they're intelligent and they're savvy.
But they've got their work cut out.
They do have their work cut out. But we've got to start somewhere. We've got to start somewhere. And I think you've got Regents Field. You got a lot of economic activity growing around the Regents Field and the railroad park. I think you're going to see some new investment opportunities in Birmingham. I think you're going to see a turnaround in the school system. But it's not going to be revolution. It's going to be evolution.
Well, I don't know that it can be done in 4 years.
It
I don't know that it can be done in 8 years.
It can't. That's but it's got to start somewhere.
Maybe one day we'll get there, but maybe I'd say it's likely it won't be in our lifetime. But
probably not, but we got to start somewhere.
All right, we got off track on the Attorney General's race. I want to talk about it when we come back from break. This is Our Issues Birmingham. I'm Tommy Spina. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're finally going to get into this Attorney General's race. It's a hot one. On the Republican side, you've got, well, let's talk about the Democratic side since you are chairman of the Democratic Party. Tell us a little bit about...
Okay, we got two fine attorneys that are running for Attorney General, Chris Christie and Joe Siegelman. They're both fine men. They're both fine candidates. They're passionate about about their beliefs. They want to make sure that they help clean Montgomery up and continue investigation of scandals and the horrible situation that we've had down there with ethics.
Right.
On the Republican side, there's a lot of good folks running. I know Troy King. He was a former AG, Attorney General. He's a fine man. He knows. I think he would be good in a fight against corruption.
You have Alice Martin.
You have Alice Martin, who personally prosecuted several high-profile crimes. Yeah. I've met her when she was, I think, U.S. Attorney.
Right.
You've got Steve Marshall, who's the current sitting appointed by Governor Bentley.
Another one of those appointees we were talking about.
And he's a former Democrat.
That's true.
And most folks don't realize that.
How do you do that? It's like being Catholic, you know. You know, we're taught we have this indelible mark, and
right.
So
I don't know if that's so indelible now or not.
To me, it diminishes the word or the party affiliation. I'm a Democrat. No, now it seems that the Republicans are driving the bus, so I think I'll just change parties.
Well,
that seems so. It's like you're lying to yourself. It's the ultimate lie.
Well, it's a lot of folks say, "Oh, the party. I didn't leave the party left me," and that's bull. The party never left anybody. The Democratic Party has always stood for the little person, for the working class, for the neglected, for the folks that society has left behind.
Well, are they afraid that we're going to evolve into socialism?
Well, I guess they are, whatever socialism is. I mean, my goodness, Social Security is socialism, and everybody's okay with it because we paid into it.
Yeah, that was a great investment.
It was a wonderful investment. The U.S. Department
Richard,
of Education.
We get paid a wage, and we get taxed on it.
Correct.
And then they keep our money for 60 some odd years. And then they give us our money
and then
back,
they give it back
and tax us again on it.
And well, that was the Reagan era that they taxed Social Security, and they need to repeal that. Just like they need to repeal sales taxes on groceries, which hits working class people harder than any other tax. Anyway, we digress. Attorney General. Let's get back to Attorney General. Again, I think that they're running on corruption. I think most of them, other than running on Trump, God, they are actually mentioning corruption. Whether they carry through on that or not, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think Alice Martin will. She's proven that. She has a track record. The current Attorney General, I don't know.
On the governor's race, it bothers me that our current appointed governor will not meet or engage any of her opponents in any dialogue or
meet and greet anybody. You know, that let's put politics aside for a minute. That's wrong. For a governor of a state to not get out amongst their people and talk issues
and debate,
challenge the challengers. You know, this is a crazy situation where I've been anointed to be governor. That's crazy. Republicans shouldn't stand for that. And you've got a lot of good folks running for that office. Mm-hmm. And I think that everybody ought to be able to size them up side by side, just like the Democrats did. You know, we had debates. We had 4 or 5 people running for office, 3 major candidates. James Fields is an excellent candidate, by the way, and an excellent man. But I think that folks need to be able to. This is democracy, not an oligarchy or a theocracy or a kingdom.
Well, another thought I have about this pendulum equilibrium thing we're talking about outside of the state of Alabama. What are your thoughts on what you see going on nationwide with respect to that
I,
issue.
I see the pendulum swinging back left.
And do you think that Trump has offended some of his supporters and has maybe facilitated that movement?
No, I don't think Trump has offended any of his supporters. I think he has got them locked down. I think what Trump has done is ignite and awakened the average person and to say, wait a minute, this ain't working.
Is this who we want to be?
Yeah, is this who we want to be?
I mean, I think back when the 60s, which is when I was the age of the 18 and 19-year-old,
mm-hmm.
who seemed to finally be waking up, if we can get them to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting proactive about certain issues, whether it be guns, the violence in schools.
Right.
I mean, they're speaking out. And that's what we did. I'm not talking about me personally, but we had big things going on.
The 60s generation, yes. We had big things going on. We had Vietnam War, then we had Watergate.
Bottom line, don't vote, don't squawk, right?
Exactly.
So get out and vote your conscience, and keep listening and watching Our Issues Birmingham. We'll be back next week, and we'll see you then.